From the age of 6, Brad suffered from a strange disease. He would involuntarily make strange noises and do strange movements, which led to his school was often bullied and ridiculed by his classmates. The teacher thought Brad was making strange noises in class as a deliberate disruption, said he was affecting other students, told him to apologize to his classmates, and made him promise not to make strange noises again. Brad had just finished making promises, but he couldn't control his strange noises again. Almost everyone thought Brad was a freak, and some people asked Brad's mother to find someone to exorcise him. It was okay that outsiders couldn't understand Brad, but his father also thought Brad was deliberately messing around, and even yelled at him in public for making strange noises. On the day his father left, he only hugged Brad's brother. Brad was a bit lost, but still took the initiative to jump into his father's arms. But his father pushed him away absent-mindedly, and only his mother believed that he didn't mean to do it. The teachers could no longer stand Brad. The principal urged him to quit school. Brad cried and said, "I can't control it." But the principal said that Brad was lying. The mother said angrily, what if he was telling the truth? Then the mother did not listen to the principal and took Brad away. He did not believe that Brad was lying and went to the library to borrow medical books and finally found the reason for Brad's strange voice. It turned out that Brad was suffering from a rare disease called Tourette's, which has no cure and will stay with the patient for the rest of his life. The father also finally believed Brad, but the guilt kept him from saying a word. Although Brad dropped out of school, his mother never gave up on him, and he did everything he could to find a support group for people with Tourette's, hoping to give his son an idea of how others live. After arriving at the support group, Brad found many people with Tourette's, but here people basically stay at home and rarely go out. Their whole life can only be spent in hiding. The mother felt that her son should behave like a normal child, so she decided to take Brad away from the support group. Brad told his mother, "Those people give in to Tourette's, but I will never do that." So the mother let Brad change schools, but it was the same no matter what school she was in, being bullied by classmates and complained about by teachers. Until one time she was asked to go to the principal's office again, who, after a few casual questions, sent Brad to an all-school concert in the afternoon. At the concert, Brad made strange noises from time to time on stage, and the students all looked at him curiously. After the performance, the principal asked Brad to come up to the podium, and the principal asked, "Do you like to make such sounds to annoy people?" Brad said no. "Then why do you say so?" "Because I have Tourette's and I have a problem with my brain, so I make weird noises." "And are you able to control it?" "No, I don't have any control over it." Brad said, "You don't like to hear weird noises. And I don't like to make weird noises. But it's worse when I'm stressed. If everyone accepted me, I wouldn't be so bad." Then the principal asked what we should do. "I mean everyone in the school. What can we do to help you?" Brad said, "I just hope people don't look at me differently." Brad walked off the podium and the whole school started standing up and applauding for him. With a few words, the principal changed Brad's life and opened a new door for Brad. As the principal said, education is about using knowledge to defeat ignorance. Growing up, Brad had his heart set on becoming a teacher, and he wanted to influence as many people as the principal did. Although Brad had already earned his bachelor's degree and excelled, he encountered a big problem during the interview. In his own joke, no school would want a teacher who sounded like a barking dog, and Brad had to explain his situation to every interviewer, confessing his condition and saying it was his brain sending the wrong signals, like a sneeze that he couldn't control. Of course sometimes he deliberately hid it, but in the end he couldn't control himself from making strange noises. Brad had a roommate who was often very eager to introduce Brad to people, and although Brad was able to talk to each other a lot of the time, he never asked the girl out a second time. Although the schools he interviewed with were later unheard of, Brad had no choice but to try to prove that Tourette's would never beat him. When Brad went for an interview one time, instead of caring about his teaching philosophy, the other party demanded of Brad, as Brad's elementary school teacher did, that if you wanted to teach here, you had to promise not to make strange noises in the classroom. Faced with such a foolish, ignorant and biased principal, Brad grabbed his resume and left the school. Then Brad hid in his car, trying desperately to keep himself from making a sound, but he couldn't help but cry. At night Brad called his mother to complain, and she said it was their loss that they couldn't see your talent, and that Brad should just give up and go home. Instead, Brad said he wouldn't let Tourette's beat him. He just had to find the right school. The mother said firmly to Brad, You will? Brad then marked all the schools on a map. And he went to each one and put in his resume. But it turned out that most of the schools were open and he didn't receive an offer from any of them. Brad felt that in order for others to accept him, he first had to fully accept Tourette's within himself. Then, one day he received an interview, and instead of looking at his resume, the principal asked him to talk about why he wanted to be a teacher and whether any of his teachers had ever inspired him. Brad said, "It was a principal who inspired me, when all my teachers inspired me to not be like them." Brad says that even if a student is different, he should be given the opportunity to learn. The interview was one of the best for Brad, and they talked for almost 2 hours. But Brad still secretly reminded himself not to get too hopeful. But hope is a habit that is hard to break once you get into it. At the retest, the teacher still questioned Brad's ability to teach properly, and Brad felt that he had screwed up his last interview. Then during the long wait, his brother came to visit Brad, who invited Brad to play golf. But the management thought that Brad's constant strange noises would affect the other members' play, and expelled them from the course. 4 similar things Brad has long been used to, and his brother's arrival also makes Brad forget his troubles for a while. After his brother left, he received a notice from the principal that he was finally hired by the elementary school. But the school only signed 1-year contract with him, and whether or not it would be renewed would depend on his performance. Brad finally found a job he liked, and with so many enthusiastic and kind teachers, Brad happily talked to his mother on the phone, who was happy and started urging Brad to find a girlfriend. At this point, Brad's mood became extremely happy and his self-confidence came back. So he asked a girl, Nancy, on a dating site, and the two talked happily. The girl was also the type Brad liked, and their hobbies were actually surprisingly similar. The two then began to continue communicating online, and Brad's class was soon set up. In the first class, Brad explained his condition to everyone and let the kids ask him any questions they had about Tourette's, joking that there was only one thing he couldn't do, and that was hide and seek. The world of children is simple and it is easy to understand something, but some parents are not so easy to understand. One parent, after seeing Brad's symptoms, moved her to a different class for fear that it would affect her daughter's learning. While teaching, Brad finally took the initiative to ask Nancy to meet him for a second time. They rode through the forest together. Nancy said he liked Brad and kept making her laugh, and their relationship managed to escalate during this date. Brad finds out that there is a very special kid in his class named Heather, and through Heather's mother, Brad learns that she is undergoing chemotherapy. Heather's mother says that her daughter enjoys taking Brad's class and asks Brad to help her keep it a secret. She doesn't want her daughter to be ostracized for it. Brad looked at them with red eyes and thought of his own mother. Brad's relationship with the children was so good that even the little boy who had called Brad a geek at first began to become fond of reading under Brad's patient guidance. On Thanksgiving Day, Brad took Nancy to meet his family, who loved Nancy, but Brad still felt vaguely afraid that one day he would no longer be able to make her laugh and she would be tired of the strange noises he made, and he was afraid he would hurt him. Mother said, "You are afraid of hurting yourself. There is only one thing that will hurt you, and that is that you let Tourette's drive her away, and you are defeated by it." After Thanksgiving, Heather's mother called to say that Heather wasn't able to go back to school. Brad called on the class to encourage her, and they made all kinds of paper cutouts and get well cards. Still, the bad news came a few weeks later, and on the day of Heather's funeral, Brad stood outside the church. He was afraid it would interfere with the funeral, so he had to stand and hover in the doorway. But then Heather's mother said, "You were Heather's favorite teacher. Please make sure you give her one last ride." Brad walked into the church and sat next to Heather's mother at the funeral, and it was a moment of not just sadness, but Brad also felt what it was like to be respected. At the Easter family gathering, Father said he was proud of Brad, but Brad said, "I've always embarrassed you. You could never accept the real me." The father said, "You are right, sometimes it's hard to be with you. I hate it when everyone looks at you differently in restaurant, and I feel so helpless at that time. I've been helping people fix things all my life, but there's one thing I've never been able to fix, and that's the thing that hurts you the most." Brad said, "No need to fix it. No one can fix it. The school's bookcases are not enough. Due to limited funds, cannot buy new bookcases. My father learned to take workers to help the school to repair the bookcases." Brad suddenly felt that maybe some things could never be fixed again, but his father still did not give up. So he introduced to his classmates, "Hi, friends, this is my father." At the end of the semester, the principal said that a man came to the school some time ago who was evaluating Brad. "I would now like to announce that Mr. Brad has been selected as this year's Teacher of the Year in the Georgia Education Community Awards." Brad looked at the children and he felt like a child too. Because children look at life differently than most adults. They look at the world and say, I have to do it, not I can't do it. As Brad walked to the podium during the awards ceremony to the applause of the crowd, he said he wanted to thank the most difficult and persistent teacher of his life, which was Tourette's. He asked what I had learned from the disease. Then the kids raised their hands one by one and said what they thought Brad had learned. Some said it was to stay the course. Others said it was to not let the disease beat you. Brad said the valuable lesson he learned from Tourette's is to never let anything stop you from chasing your dreams, having fun and falling in love. Front of the Class is a movie based on a true story, and the real Brad went on to get his master's degree, as well as fulfill a lifelong dream of playing the Braves mascot and marrying Nancy in 2006, living in Atlanta after their marriage. And he's still doing what he loves most, teaching. Today we are talking about an inspirational movie. Imagine finding reasons to back out of everything you do. How else can you move forward? Just like the other Tourette's patients in the film, hiding at home complaining about the injustice of fate. They are also afraid to step out of their homes for fear of suffering previous setbacks because it is more comfortable and less risky to stay at home. Not to mention that most of the setbacks are still of their own imagination. You say you don't want to die alone in defeat, but you choose to keep retreating and giving up in comfort. Hopefully, in a time when the ground is full of sixpence, you can still look up and see the moon with you all the time.